For those in the audience getting to know you here for the very first time, care to share where you were born?
I was born in Pennsauken, New Jersey. For people who don't know, it's right next to the city of Camden. We about 10 minutes outside of Philadelphia.
And care to share where you were raised as well?
I was raised in Pennsauken as well.
And you still reside in that area
Hell
today?
no, hell no, do not.
Care to share where you reside these days?
Shit, not there. It's not there.
And do you know what age you were when you moved out and why you moved out of that?
Yo, all right, so I think I was 20, 21. And the reason I moved out, and this is, mind you, this was after I had signed my first deal, so I had money to move out and shit, but I was just kind of delaying and shit. I remember I was on FaceTime one night, and my mom had work the next morning. I'm talking to a girl, she get up talking about something. Why the fuck you on the phone? Well, she ain't say that, I ain't gonna lie, you know you ain't say that, but I'm just, But she came at me crazy, I'm like, damn. I go to my great grandma, she stayed with me, she was with me at the time. I said, yo, I'm about 20, 21 years old. I can't even be on FaceTime past 10. I said, hell no. I said, I got money now. So I got up out of there. That was the last straw for me. I love my auntie though. I love y'all, but y'all know, you know what I'm saying? I had to go. Had to go.
This grandmother, this aunt you're referencing, mother's side or father's side for you?
So my mother saw it.
And this deal, care to share for reference who you had that first deal with way back when?
It's a Capitol Records.
Now, when it comes to this area in Jersey, does it get any more specific than that for you? Like a particular portion of this area?
Nah, it's just Pennsauken. That's where I was, you know. I wasn't outside in the mix too much, so I really just kept to myself. So it was really just that.
And why that way of movement there, or lack of movement, for lack of a better phrase? Was that a strict upbringing you were held under? Was that you just staying inside by your own choice? What was the mentality behind that?
To be real, I don't know. I was never really a people person, you know what I'm saying? And I like doing my own thing, you know. I don't like being in the mix too much. I don't hang around too many people. You know, my circle probably consists of like 3 solid motherfuckers. So I was never a mixy guy. So I just really, just kept to myself and stuff. Cause there be people telling me from around that way, be trying to tell me I ain't from there. I was just in the crib, bro. I ain't gonna lie, y'all was out there doing bullshit. I was in the crib. Ain't nothing wrong with it, you know what I'm saying? That's where I'm at now, y'all still where y'all at.
Now, be that as it may, what was that really like growing up in that area for you? Up into the age of 21.
Man, shit. I mean, it was cool, you know. They got the surrounding cities where, bullshit and stuff be going on. But like I say, I stayed out of the mix in that. But, just growing up there, people who just be around and shit and all.
Now, what was the top point for you during your upbringing in that environment? What was your highest point or most positive moment growing up in that area for you?
Shit, probably when I graduated high school, for real. That was that, you know what I'm saying? I know my people was proud of that.
And what about music? Do you consider that to be a top point for you at all during your upbringing?
I mean, you got a good point, yeah. Yeah, that was like right towards the end. So, I could say that because that's the reason, I was able to get out and, do my own thing.
Now, why or how did you get into music, out of all things, way back when?
So real, honestly, I was supposed to be a vet tech. I went to school for that. I got my certification. COVID hit, fucked everything up. I ain't gonna lie, I was sitting in the crib. I ain't had shit to do. If I'm being so honest, I didn't want to get no regular ass job, bro. I don't like people and shit. That's the real reason I was fucking with animals in the first place. So I'm like, damn. But like, I was just doing music on some fun shit. Like, it was never like, yo, I want to be an artist. So, I just fucked around. I had a TikTok at the time, bro. I probably had 10 followers. And it was my song Gangsta with it. It was the first video I posted. I posted a video, this shit went up. I said, damn, all right. So, I fuck around. I made a DistroKid account. And then after that, a week after I put out that snippet, I just said, fuck, I'm making an album. And that's when I made my album that had Message to Her. Message to Her and all them other songs on there. I'm looking at it, I look at my DistroKid, it take about 2-3 months to hit. I see like 7 bands in that shit. I say, damn, like this just from music. I said, nah, I gotta take this shit serious. You know what I'm saying? I ain't had too much bread growing up. So me just seeing 7 bands off a song I recorded in my room on GarageBand, I said, yeah, nah, this is what I'm doing. Fuck everything else, this is what I'm doing.
Now, once again, may sound similar here, but why music of all things? Because there are some that are that have that description as you presented. Stay inside, not mixy, to themselves, but they're playing video games. They're live streaming. They're YouTubing. They're doing other facets aside from music. So why music out of all maybe these other facets one can do inside the house, inside the home?
I kind of fell in love with music. You know, like I said, it wasn't something that I was super passionate at first, but the reactions I was getting from people telling me, a song that I made changed their life. Like hearing that shit, like damn, I'm like damn, like I really can, do this and be a positive impact. So that right there, getting the reaction from the people and the fans, people fucking my shit, that's what really, like just like all right, this is what I want to do. I don't want to do nothing else. I feel like I can have, the best impact, based on me off of through the music and all.
Now, how many times have you seen or received or someone said to you that sort of thing? Your music, in some sort of fashion, has changed their life.
And I get at least 20, 30 messages a day, DMs a day, and I be trying to go through them. It be so many, I be trying to respond to as many as I do, but I see everybody, and that shit, like, even on my bad days, because this music shit, you got your ups and downs, but that shit right there is what keep me going, because knowing I have a positive impact on people and that I could touch them, help, get them through all that. Sometimes I have a bad habit of forgetting who I am and what I do, and that shit bring me back, seeing these messages and all.
Because not every recording artist receives that sort of thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like and I look at it like this. Like it's one thing, you could be a hot artist, you can make hot songs, all the club songs and shit. You be hot. That's cool. But I mean, look at it like God forbid, like I said, this will go back to what we were talking about earlier. Something happened to people, just gonna remember you because he had the club lit in 2020. Nah, bro, I want to be one of them people. They're gonna be like, yo, he got me through a dark time. He got me through depression. People say they be battling, suicidal thoughts and stuff, and I'll be helping them get through that. That's how I want to be remembered. Like, I really touch people's life. Fuck having a hot song. I want to touch people personally.
May not even be changing someone's life or touching their life. You may be saving lives here.
For sure.
Now, do you recall what age? Do you want to put an age when this music started for you?
I don't know. So I'm 25 now. So I think 20. I was 20 is when I started.
And care to share your birthday while you're at it, the month and the day, perhaps?
August 23rd, 1999, big Virgo. I started off, I lead by example. I don't get no better than this.
Now, you just shared your full birthday here on camera, your current age on camera. There are some recording artists that will not. They keep it private, they hide it, that sort of thing. Why no problems here saying your age?
Because you can Google that shit and find it anyways. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, and a lot of motherfuckers just be ugly and old and they don't be wanting to tell their real age. That be the reason they don't be saying shit. But saying big, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, ain't no shame in my shit.
Just curious there. And the reason why we're asking here is because sometimes online there could be some incorrect information, some misinformation. So that's why I just wanted to ask you directly while you were here.
Facts. So I ain't gonna lie though, if y'all go to my Wikipedia, for some reason it say I was born and raised in Houston. I don't know who the fuck was born and raised in Houston, but it wasn't me. So Wikipedia need to fix your shit. They ain't talking about me.
And case in point with that. Now, okay, on the opposite end of the spectrum, as sheltered as you were, still will ask you this anyways, because you never know. What was the bottom point for you during your upbringing in that portion of Jersey? What was your lowest point or most positive moment, most negative moment, if you have one?
Yo, I ain't gonna lie. All right, so I'm gonna tell this story like, I ain't never told this story before. So boom, I remember, I ain't gonna lie, growing up, I had anger issues. I don't know why, but I did. I was just angry. I was just an angry kid. So I remember this one time I was getting into it with my peoples. I got mad. I was mad as shit. I think it was because I was trying to get something out of the pantry and they told me I ain't need to eat, bro. I was mad though. I was just like, damn, I was already having a fucked up day. I grabbed the lock from the pantry and I threw it, and it fucking shattered the fucking stove we had. And then at that time, I was like, damn, I fucked up. I fucked up. Like, my people, they was getting on my ass. They had called the cops in my crib. They fucking around, took me to like one of them little like the mental hospitals and shit. I don't know what they thought I was really going to tweak. And like, I think I was like 13, 14 at the time. And like, my people's like my aunts and all, they was older. So like I was seeing how that was affecting them. And like, you know what I'm saying? Like they getting tired, they getting to that point. And I think me seeing that I'm putting them through all this stress, like that's what really made me like, all right, I gotta I gotta tighten up, you know what I'm saying? Like life getting real, you start losing people, you start losing family members, you see like, damn, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't wanna, God forbid it's the last time I see him, I don't want them to just think of me as some badass kid and nothing. So I tightened up from there. That was definitely my lowest moment when I did that and that shit. But that shit, I ain't gonna lie, that shit, that's the reason why I'm here today. I ain't gonna lie.
Now, when you had this aha moment,
Mhm.
as some would call it, was that with the help of that mental health professional treatment that you had received, or was that something maybe you just hone in on yourself?
Now that was me though. I ain't gonna lie. So they had fucked around and they sent me to like a little outpatient little treatment thing. But that shit, I ain't gonna lie. I was at that point I was going for the food. The food there was smack. I forget they had these chicken tenders, all type of shit. I was going there for the food. Like the treatment shit, like, all right, I had my mind made up because when they called the cops in my crib and I forget so I was sitting in my room after I had broke this shit. They talking about come downstairs. Like one of my aunts told me come downstairs. I'm like, nah. They had the police officer walk up to my door. He walked up my steps and I said, oh shit. I was like, oh shit, all right. Yo, as soon as I seen that, I said, yeah, nah, I don't want to get in none of this. I don't want to deal with no police shit, whatever the fuck. So that's what that was. But then, they just wanted to make sure I was good. They put me in therapy and had me go to these little outpatient shits. That shit ain't, like I said, once they did that to me, I made my mind up, all right. And like I say, seeing my aunts fell away like they was hurt. So like that was enough. But I was just doing all the other stuff, just because that's what they wanted me to do.
So, safe to say this is something you've overcome at this point in your
Yeah,
life?
for sure, for sure.
Now, still, we'll ask you this anyways, barring your your sheltered experience as you described.
Hmm.
But how would you say you were able to survive that upbringing in that portion of New Jersey? Unless maybe that was the key to your survival, was being sheltered.
Man, yeah, staying out the way, man, not hanging with certain people, not hanging around people. It's like, I don't know, bro. It's just this shit, if you from around that way, you from the hoods around that way, you know how shit be, bro. People's just ain't no good intentions out there. Ain't really shit out there. So, but I ain't gonna lie, I'm glad that I seen that at such a young age and understood that and no, I ain't want to be a part of none of this. So I ain't gonna lie, unlike a lot of other people, I was fortunate enough to not have to. Cause there's some people who are just born into that situation and like you just a product of your environment. I was born a little outside of it. So I seen it from the outside looking in and I know like that ain't the path I want to go down.
So, in essence, and as you mentioned, you were like, I don't know, 10 minutes away from Camden. Let's
Hmm.
say you were located in Camden. Maybe this would be a different story here, possibly.
Hell yeah, I ain't gonna lie. Cause shit, circumstances would have been way different. You know, what I'm saying? Like if I like the other way I know that I could have went, like, dealing with my like just some other shit. Like I look back at it like, yeah, if I was in this situation, if like my peoples ain't step up and did what they did for me, I would have been in a different situation. I had a whole different mindset, looked at life different, all that. So definitely would have been just a whole different person.
You might have been actually one of those people messaging a recording artist saying, hey, this song or this album got me through something, versus the other way around
For
here.
sure.
Now, there are some people who say things like, don't know if I'll make it to see the age of 18, maybe 21, for example. Did you ever have any of these thoughts yourself growing up in that portion of Jersey?
Hell no. I was in a crib. I mean anything can happen anywhere, but shit, I wasn't, I was cool. Shit, I just went to school, came home. I ain't had to have that thought. Like I said, and people be trying to make it seem like a bad thing that your parents made sure you ain't had to worry about that shit. They did what the fuck they was supposed to do. They made sure I ain't had to have that thought. So hell no, that shit ain't never crossed my mind.
Now, be that as it may, knowing what you know now,
Mhm.
Hypothetically speaking here, what would you have said to your younger self back then, if anything?
Man, I would have say if I knew like the music I was gonna be making music, I would have said start earlier, bro. I would say start earlier. I would have said, just stop bullshitting and just like really lock in. And I procrastinated a lot, bro. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like through my high school years and all that. But I'm glad that I found, something I enjoy doing. I just wish I found it a little sooner. You know what I'm saying? And I would tell myself not to be so trustworthy, not think that everybody who's smiling in your face is your friends, because that ain't the case at all. Stop being so trustworthy. Stop giving people second chances. Just stuff like that. Just like stop being so lenient with certain shit.
Now, I asked you a variety of questions here in regards to your upbringing.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you want to mention about it, or a question you weren't asked? People want to know about that as well.
No, that's all.
Now, I do want to rewind to one more thing here. You mentioned your mother's side throughout
Yeah.
this conversation. What about your father or your father's side? What's the status between you and them at this point?
Uh, I mean, I be chatting with them, here and there. That's, that's family. That's just that.